anytime if you have questions, you can let me know also. Okay. Apart from that, to begin with, like we are a multi-tenant solution. We support Windows, Mac, Linux, and also when it comes to the mobile device management MDM side of it, we also do support Android and iOS there. In the endpoint, you would need to install two major agents. One is called communications client, using which you should have the RMM abilities like remote device takeover, maybe team similar to TeamViewer or LogMainKind. You can do the patch management, understand the software inventory in the endpoint, and many other things like that. And the second agent is called client security. And this, when installed in the endpoint, it will the UI of the client security looks something like this. And once it is installed, it will monitor the endpoint itself for various of the security layers based on the parameters whichever the admin sets up in the management portal. Now, just to go in a very brief manner, it's not just the antivirus which we have. So there are like multiple other security layers in here which works in parallel to protect, give you a full protection into your endpoint itself. Now that's where like to get into a very brief on all these security layers. When it comes to antivirus, this is for detecting any known malicious incidences happening in your endpoint. And it's a signature based detection what it'll be doing in here. Now we have a rich set of signature database simply because we have been in this industry for almost like 2+ decades now, and so we get a feeds from across like 100 million plus endpoints across the globe. We have been managing so many endpoints. We have a good database of malicious signatures and also which we leverage to prevent any of the known malicious incidences happening in your endpoints. And then there is this firewall, which is a software-based firewall which we offer, which works pretty much like any standard firewall, wherein you should be able to create rules to monitor your inbound and outbound traffic, maybe define ports and things like that. And then to skip on, there is this HIPS module, the Host Intrusion Prevention Service, as we call. Now, this is the heuristic analysis engine of control, used to prevent any of the fileless malware attacks like script-based, maybe VB scripts, partial-based scripts, memory-based attacks. If any suspicious level process injection happens, so any of such processes should be stopped using this HIPS module. And then there is this Viruscope, which is our behavioral analysis engine. And it's used to prevent any of the, it's used to locate indicators of compromise, especially of the files which are running inside something called auto containment here. It sits in parallel to all these security layers to feed a good amount of intelligence to our verdicting system also, which is called Valkyrie, which I'll show you in when I get into the management portal. Now, to focus on one of these important layer, that's called auto containment, right? So the major of the discussion on the security, I'll be focusing on this particular technology. Why so? Because why is it so important? Because any of the unknown file executions or the zero-day events happening in your endpoint, so we make sure to prevent it using this auto containment technology. Having said that, in Komodo, we have a zero trust architecture wherein known good files we allow, known bad files we use any of these layers to stop it, and when it is unknown files, specifically auto containment will be used. Further on, as I said, I'll be deep diving into this auto containment technology, but I'll run a real ransomware instance to you. So just to show how things works in the endpoint, how do we protect your endpoint itself? And for that, I have my cryptic ransomware instance in here, which is a very real ransomware instance. It's an encryptor by nature. So as soon as I execute this cryptic, if you notice, in the right top corner, I have my widget in place, kind of like a shortcut you can call. The first window there, it says one application is running inside this container. I click on it to see what that application is. Now, this is the tamper proofing window which you have in the endpoint, so that the end user do not make any changes to the agents itself, if not uninstall the agent also. And I enter in the admin password, which is defined in the management console. And then if you notice the cryptic, whatever I executed, that's opened inside this containment in a fully virtualized mode, simply because the rating given by us is unknown, right? So any of the unknown file executions happens inside this containment. And I can right click on it, get into show activities to see in a real time way how this particular application has been executing upon in the endpoint in a very sequential manner, right? So maybe it's been loading a few image files as we are talking, creating files, doing kernel level changes, doing many, many more things. But my focus would be on the child process, what it created, wordpad.exe. So somewhere in the process line, I'm able to see that also. Now to focus on this WordPad, if you notice, the rating given by us is trusted. And in spite of this being a trusted application, it's still open inside this containment simply because it's a child process of the scripting, which is an unknown file executing inside this containment. And the WordPad is in the background. Now there may be a case wherein the end user will have to work on such Word documents itself, and we allow the end users to actually access these files and work on them even when ransomware is executing maybe, so that their productivity is not actually hampered. But just as a kind of like a differentiator, there's a green border surrounding it. It's kind of like a user alerting, you can say. It indicates this particular application is open inside this containment. Apart from that, now in parallel, for any of these executions, there will be a verdicting on any of these applications happening, right, from Commodores. And so 95% of the time, we make sure to verdict any of these files within like 45 seconds. The rest 5% of the time, it's usually when it comes to advanced threats, anomalies, false positives and all. In that case, we have a human backing into it, wherein we have our entire of the SOC team and the engineers from there. They do a reverse engineering on any of the these files which doesn't get verdicted within like 45 seconds. Then the SOC team makes sure to verdict these files within an SLA of like 4 hours then, right? Apart from that, as we are saying this final ransomware message came up. Again, it's in a green border indicating it's open inside this containment. Now, how does this containment work? So for this containment, we temporarily virtualize 3 major components: the COM interface, registry, and hard disk, which are your endpoint resources, which you are utilizing in here. But then it is a very lightweight replication. For this, we use something called kernel level API virtualization, wherein we mimic the entire endpoint and compress it into one particular file path called VT-root. And this is where we restrict any of our processes executing inside my containment to work on, so that they don't interfere at all with my native environment there. And then if I enter into the VT-root to see what the scripting has been doing, maybe I enter into users, pre-sales, pictures, right? And then if you notice multiple images which have been encrypted into some inaccessible format by this cryptic ransomware instance, it's attached some random characters into it. But all this is happening inside my VT-root, my temporarily virtualized memory space. So if I enter into my camera roll in my native environment, now these are the same images in my native environment, which are still intact. Nothing changes there, right? So that's how we trick any of the unknowns to execute inside this VT-root, and we prevent it from affecting your entire of your endpoint. In case if you want to stop these file executions which you are executing, if you want to do it manually, you can get into your client security task, containment task, reset the container, and erase the changes. You don't really have to do all these things manually. Everything is automated. So be it like the deletion part, the green border, widget, alerting, everything is automated. If not, you can make a Commodore very silent solution also altogether, so that the end user doesn't even feel that such execution is happening in the endpoint. So the option is entirely up to you as an administrator. If you want, you can show it. If not, you can keep it switched off. As soon as you erase the changes, couple of things should happen in here. So one, my processes, whatever are executing inside my containment, should be stopped. And the second thing, since it's a temporary virtualization, which we are speaking about in here, so my memory space, whichever I was utilizing for this containment, should also be erased. That's where my VT-root, which was there previously, that itself is deleted, right? So that's where that's how we protect your endpoint, be it from known or unknown bad files in a very proactive manner, I should say, right? Any questions before I jump into the management console, of course?
No, we can proceed ahead.
Oh, okay.
Later, I will ask you a question.
Okay, sure. Okay. Just give me a minute. All right. Now, this Dragon platform is our management console, right? I call it a centrally managed platform because along with your endpoint related manageability, you have a service desk component, which is an add-on into the product suite. If you want, you can use it. If not, you can keep it switched off as it is. There's a limited version of secured internet gateway, which is our web URL filtering. There's a CRM code manager, and on subscription basis, you even have a MDR offering, managed detection and response, or the SIEM of ours. Further, there are like multiple dashboards visible, giving you a visibility on your ticketing and also endpoint related data. You can customize any of these dashboards. And if you click on applications and endpoint manager, now this is where you have your endpoint related manageability, and also you'll have a visibility on your security events happening in your endpoints. If you want to see the security incidences first, so you can get into something called security dash subsystems. And all these subdivisions should give you an understanding on a particular type of incidences, whatever are happening in your endpoint. For example, antivirus for understanding any of the known malicious incidences happening in your endpoint. Containment should give you an understanding on unknown malicious incidences happening in your endpoint. But then if I click on containment, now Cryptic should be here because recently it executed in my laptop, right, inside my containment. And that's where it is shown here. Now, as an administrator, you may not be really sure what this unknown application is all about. So if you want an analysis, you can select it and get into something called Valkyrie, which is our verdicting system. Now, Valkyrie is based on the feeds, whatever we get from across like 100 million plus endpoints across the globe. It's a very dynamic portal. And based on all the feeds what we get, we put across a good analysis on any of these malicious incidences itself. For example, the Cryptic was known to be a malware, and on runtime basis, you'll have the static analysis in here. This is a code level, any suspicious behaviors are there, so you should be able to see them. Under dynamic analysis, you'll have a behavioral analysis, and on human vecting, you have this human expert analysis, which I told you with the 4 hours of SLA. If not, you can sign into this particular portal and upload any of your suspicious files, and you should be able to get a human expert analysis back again on it. If not, you can also, for any of these malicious incidences, you can generate a kill chain report, which gets into a very in-depth level. For example, the Cryptic was known to be a high severe malware, and the nature was somewhere like 58% of ransomware. And if I click on activity details, I should be able to see the sources from whichever it's been, maybe like downloading payload, writing messages and all. I can also get into behavioral graph to understand things in a process level, parent and child process suspicious calls, types of it. I can even get into behavior summary and understand the modifications or the executions done by the Cryptic itself in the endpoint. Like the accessed files may be modified files, may be registries, hash keys, API calls, commands executed, deleted files, and many, many more things. Now, all these informations, you should be able to compile it together with screenshots and behaviors, and you should be able to download this as a kill chain report, which is a PDF file. And you can submit it to your management team or clients, or keep it for revisit also for further analysis, right? And this is the verdicting given by us in Komodo for any of your suspicious files. Apart from that, now you can also, as an administrator, you should also be able to do your own analysis on any of these malicious incidences in a very maybe like sub-process level. For that, you will need to access the Dragon Enterprise platform, which is a newer platform compared to Dragon platform. It has all the features and functionalities of Dragon platform. Apart from that, you have a EDR visibility also in this particular Dragon Enterprise, right? So if I get into Dragon Enterprise, so if you notice, maybe like you have software inventory applications, many other things are there. The initial dashboard in here, it gives you visibility on multiple types of incidences, malicious incidences happening in your endpoint. Now, all these dashboards will be populated based on one of the agents which you install in EDR agent, which you install in your Windows devices. And the EDR agent is a very lightweight agent which simply sits in your endpoint and forwards any of these security alerts to the portal itself. You can see the devices, the type of incidences, the nature of it, many other incidences in here. But if you click on security and endpoint security, now in this portal, this is where the differentiation is. You can see containment, applications control, antivirus, and many other details, even which I showed you in the Dragon platform. Apart from that, you have this 2 more alerts and investigation, which you can see it in here. Now, under the alerts, you can see all the alerts whichever are forwarded by the EDR agent, which you should be able to filter out based on all these components. I can simply select one of it, and I should be able to see, the alerts itself forwarded. Maybe I can get into one of these instances, maybe an untrustable executable, and I should be able to see all the telemetry data, whichever are forwarded by the EDR agent, be it on the device level, event level, the process level, many other incidences there. You can create a suppression rule if you do not want this particular alert to be shown next time on. You can also, for a further understanding, you can click on this process hash and view things in a process timeline, wherein two types of views you get. One is a timeline and a tree view. Under a timeline view, the parent and child process, in what timeline multiple sub-processes were created. Each of these dots are nothing but individual sub-process. You can see all those dots in here. You can see the telemetry data back again towards the bottom. You can also see the same thing in a tree view also, wherein you can see the parent and child processes, and this is the untraceable executable which you had. So there could be multiple other subprocess also, which could be kind of like a save. That's where it is called. It was collapsed. You can zoom into that particular. You should be able to find all these 10 sub-processes. One of the sub-processes could be a suspicious one. So you should be able to get into that particular process hashback and view things in a hash search, wherein a hash query was done for you and a verdicting on that particular file was given or process was given. And you can see the Komodo rating and admin rating. Now, Komodo had marked it as save. That's where this particular file was known to be saved. Admin had still marked it as unknown. Now, admin can leverage the Valkyrie, which I showed you, our verdicting system previously. And they should be able to download the Valkyrie report also. And once they get an understanding, they should be able to change the rating on any of it, maybe to mark it as unrecognized or trusted or malicious. If you mark it as trusted, this particular application admin rating will be set as trusted. This particular application will run. If you mark it as malicious, it'll be this particular process will be blocked, right? This is how you can do your own investigation on any of the sub-process level or forensic, I can say. And this comes with 3 days retention along with your AEP itself. So it's for free for 3 days. You should be able to use it. If you want higher, there's a subscription for that. So if, in case if you want a higher retention, you can even go for a subscription model, right? You can access both these platforms, any of these. That's what I meant, right? Apart from that, now this is on the until now I was showing a security aspects. Any questions on whatever I showed you on the security aspects? Now there's a whole section of endpoint manageability and MDM ability and all. But before getting into any of these, so any questions?
I have one small question actually. So see, currently what we are actually thinking about, we need a such kind of a platform where patch management, web filtering, and antivirus, which include both behavior based and signature based, can be, you can say, combined, can be completed in this particular platform, and we can use it in the endpoint security. Because currently we have done the merger of one organization where there is some organization having security posture and not that much of appropriate as we are thinking earlier. So we need such kind of a solution. We can give us a full visibility of this particular systems.
Yeah, I got you. So when it comes to patch management and many others, so it's a part of the endpoint manageability. So we have
according to your flow, if any.
Now, using the endpoint applications under it, first thing to touch base upon the vulnerability patching what we have. So under the vulnerability management, you have visibility on your vulnerable incidences, whatever are happening in your endpoints. And based on it, you should be able to see the devices also, and you should be able to select that particular device and install the individual patches for this particular vulnerable incident. Maybe I can show you a few incidences in one other portal. Just give me. Right. So whatever CVs are published by Microsoft, you should be able to see them, and you can click on the targeted devices, and you should be able to see that particular device and install. You should be able to install the individual patches for this particular vulnerable incident. Okay. Apart from that, you can get into your devices and device list, and all your enrolled devices should be listed down under this particular section. You can group them into multiple, subgroups. Pardon me, my network is a little slow since there's flooding issues and many others. Just bear with.
No problem.
Yep. Let me try loading on this. Just a minute. Yeah. So all your devices, whatever are there, will be visible under this particular portal, right? So you should be able to group them into multiple subgroups. You should be able to search for your devices also, and you can see the operating system of it. Windows, Mac, Linux, and Android and iOS, everything will be visible in here. You should be able to select any of these devices, and you should be able to see all your RMM abilities in here. So you can remote into or do a file transfer using our own remote control by Itarian app. Apart from that, you can use this remote tools in order to see the files or processes and services and execute certain commands. Even partial commands also you can execute. To customize things in your environment, you can use something called procedures, and these are nothing but scripts, JSON or Python-based scripts they are. Now, there's a populated almost like 3,000 plus scripts already available based on our various customers use cases which we have developed, right? So you can leverage them simply by typing in a few keywords. You should be able to find those particular the scripts itself. If not, you should be able to get into one other repository which we have called scripts.itarian.com, and you should be able to request a new script in case if your use case is not catered. Our scripts team will back again help you in implementing that. And you should be able to write your own also in case if you want to. JSON or Python based it should be. You can install any Komodo or any third-party MSI packages, and per endpoint you have patch status shown here. Now, if the patching is marked as red, that indicates critical patches are available. If a device is marked as yellow, it indicates unmanaged patches are available. If it's all green, it indicates the device is fully patched. You should be able to see the patch management even in general under the patch management also. So once it is, if the patches are available, you should be able to see them. The Windows OS patches and the third-party application patches also you should be able to see them. And you should be able to automate the entire of the patching process itself, maybe to approve it automatically, schedule it by specifying maintenance window, daily, weekly, monthly basis. You can control the severity or type of patches to be installed and also reboot options also, right? Further, you have a visibility on your software inventory in the endpoint or in the global scale. If not, you can push certain of these applications based on like predefined Windows application store is available, wherein 450 around applications are pre-populated, which keeps on growing. And you should be able to push these applications from here. If not, you can install for your mobile devices, Android and iOS store, you have it in here, wherein Play Store and App Store compatibility you have. Even enterprises applications, you can push it from for your mobile devices, whichever you develop.
Okay, and regarding the patching, actually, I would like to ask very quick question. Can we create any kind of a test zone here where we can, move the devices in the test zone, and after testing, once the testing is completed, we can move it to the production like this? Can we have such kind of a environment we can create here?
Yeah. So first thing when you enroll a devices, you can actually create a grouping itself by creating a subgroup in here, right? So and then you can define it maybe like test patching or something, and whatever devices you want to test, you can move them into that particular device group. If not, you can associate a profile also into that particular devices, wherein you can specify the policies with respect to that particular patching process itself. And you should be able whatever patches are available for this particular group of devices, you should be able to find, you should be able to select that particular group itself and see the patches, and you can do the testing on it. And then you can do in case if it fails or something, you can do a rollback also in case if you want to, and you should be able to control the patching itself, right?
Okay, fine, got it. Thank you.
Okay. And apart from that, under configuration templates, this is something called monitors, wherein you should be able to monitor your endpoints itself based on the conditions or thresholds, whatever you specify, especially maybe on CPU, RAM usage and all. If not, there are like multiple options which I'll show you. So maybe like a file size, folder size, disk utilization, services, processes, Windows event ID, many more things. You can write your own custom scripts also, security events, patches. If it fails or installs, you should be able to trigger an alert. And alert can be associated to any of the recipients whomever you specify, if not to our service desk, wherein a ticketing can be generated and you can specify which staff members or departments to work on, right? On that particular ticket. So all those things you can do. Further, there's this something called DLP, which is right now in a beta phase, right? So it should be live before the end of this year. But even now, there are, especially when it comes to data on rest, you have multiple functionalities. You can create two rules, discovery and a monitoring rule. Now, creating a discovery rule, you should be able to specify your own patterns or keywords. If not, you can use a predefined patterns like account numbers, credit card numbers, and all, based on which you should be able to scan through a target, which is a file group or a drive. If you find anything suspicious, any files itself, you should be able to take actions on it, like to quarantine or block it. You can restrict certain document types based on all these extensions. You monitor the data getting leaked into removable storage devices like USBs. If not, you can open any of the USB devices in read-only mode only, so that no data transfer happens. You can block the screenshots also. All these things you can do, right? Then there is this network management, wherein you can create a discovery rules to find your new devices.
Yeah, regarding the sorry for interruption. Regarding the DLP, when you talk about monitoring parts, how we can monitor? Like, suppose if I'll install the one particular system, can I get every information about the system? What the data has been transferred to the different channel, like email and any other channel? Like this kind of a thing is there, or how exactly it's been monitoring here?
Right. So if anybody plugs in any of these devices, and you should be able to find that, okay, this device, it's getting it's transferring data. All these things you should be able to find. If you want, you can block that particular device and take actions on it, right? So for now, it's just the basic thing what you have in here under the monitoring. But gradually there will be regular expressions and especially on email or outside network, any of the data flowing. So you should be able to uploading and all to cloud servers and all. So you should be able to monitor all those. That's in roadmap, right?
Okay. Because currently we are having one dedicated solution as a DLP. So I was just comparing the capability of the both the system. Okay. Thank you.
Right. Okay. Hey, so I was talking about network management, wherein you can create discovery rules to find your new devices. You can discover your devices by Active Directory, by network, or by SNMP basis. And since there's an SNMP basis discovery, you should be able to find your network devices also, like routers, printers, switches, firewalls, and all. And then you should be able to specify a monitoring for those particular devices also, especially on performance side back again, maybe on CPU, RAM usage, and all, uptime, online, offline status, and all those, right? You should be able to monitor all these. Apart from that, there's this MDM section, there's a service desk, and many other aspects into it. So Yeah, I mean, like before winding up, one other quick thing. So if I get into my settings under that, if I get into support, so when it comes to Windows, we support Windows XP to 10 and servers 2003 to 2019. Linux multiple environments, Ubuntu, CentOS, Red Hat, Debian, Mac almost latest Big Sur, Android, iOS, Samsung, Knox, all these will be supported. These are our 24/7 support channel across the globe, which we have. Um, right. So this is kind of like a brief what I had to show you. Any questions on whatever I showed you till now, or do you want me to touch base upon anything? To let me know.
No, regarding the Absolute OS, we say we have like Windows XP, Windows 7, and Windows Server 2008 and all.
Yeah.
So what kind of a security you're providing for this Absolute system?
Right. So when it comes to Windows XP or 7, so you should be able to run even our antivirus and things like that. The basic thing is there's a version restriction in here. You need to configure the package, whatever you install, based on the versions what you specify, and will help you in implementing that. Right. So apart